Hello, everyone, and welcome in to the channel. We're going to take a deep look at what happened in fantasy football in Week 6. Pretty interesting week with a lot of injuries. We got to see some rookie quarterbacks debut. We're going to talk about Spencer Rattler. We're going to talk about Tyrone Tracy. We're going to look at some of the advanced data. We are going to look at some of the snap counts. There's some pretty interesting stuff happening. We can, of course, look at some of the combinations in the Best Ball Mania database. We got to check on, we do need to be checking on the advance rates. I think all of that stuff is, maybe it's not that important, but I do think that it is pretty interesting. This stage of the season, I really hope that, we don't have to spend that much time talking about Najee Harris, but we probably will talk about Najee Harris on the program. In fact, that would be a great way to begin. Let's begin with the Steelers backfield and Najee Harris, because someone that we absolutely have to talk about is Jaylen Warren. The Jaylen Warren situation is not great, because right now what I am worried about with Jaylen Warren is that he might be in a really valuable role for his real team, but not a particularly valuable role for our fantasy team. So that is where we are going to begin today. I want to begin by looking at Najee Harris's career numbers. Of course, good morning, everyone. Welcome in to the stream. I hope that you are all having a great day. If you came over from ADP chasing, welcome to you. Najee Harris in his career, I have to assume that was close to his most efficient game of all time. Let's see here. Yeah, that was his most efficient game of all time. Not even particularly close. 14 rushes, 106 yards, 7.5 yards per carry, 8 yards per reception. I mean, you do have to hand it to him. He did the was awesome. The one run that he scored on was awesome. Najee Harris only plays good when Jaylen Warren is active. Yeah, it's pretty interesting. God, I really wish that it was not true, though. I really wish that he would not have had that game. I think what's interesting, though, about this analysis is you might expect, Jaylen Warren comes back from the hamstring. Jaylen Warren doesn't play that much. I don't think that was true. I believe Jaylen Warren played a good bit. Yeah, he did. I mean, he played only 6 fewer snaps than Najee Harris. So what's happening is we are basically getting empty calorie snaps, which is about the worst thing imaginable. We would prefer it to be the other way. And so what I'm wondering now with Jaylen Warren is Jaylen Warren sort of the Marquez Valdez-Scantling of the Pittsburgh Steelers backfield, where he's out there, but the thing that he's out there to do is only valuable for his real team and not valuable for our fantasy team? Because I think the advanced metrics have always painted a pretty good picture of Jaylen Warren. They've always said he's an effective runner. They've always said he's a very good pass blocker. They have always said that he is an efficient receiver. And I think all that stuff is true, but does it matter that much for our purposes if his coaches, because now this is another coaching staff. This is another coaching staff that has decided we're not all that interested in giving Jaylen Warren the ball. Let's take a look at some of his career stuff over on PFF, because I'm gonna imagine that basically he looks really good in he looks good in all the advanced stuff, but man, it just doesn't really translate into production at all. So let's load up the premium stats page for Jaylen Warren. Oh, share that tab. My computer, by the way, is absolutely struggling. I think I'm gonna be in the market for a new computer. So if you want to leave a comment below and tell me your advice on buying a new computer, please let me know. All right, season grades for Jaylen Warren in his career. It's exactly what I expected. 84.4 run grade last year, 73 run grade the year before. Weirdly, not a good pass blocking grade, which has never been the way the Steelers have treated him, and it's never been the I'm getting the input. Yeah, this is really unbelievable. Good, really good stuff. It's true. It's true. If I had a new computer, this would never happen. There we go. All right. There we go. It's the cabal censoring. It's the cabal censoring the Warren FUD. Okay. So I want to put this stuff into context. I want to go check the run grades from 2023 because I'm gonna guess that Jaylen Warren is one of the absolute best guys in the NFL. Rushing grades for halfbacks. I'm going to guess Jaylen Warren. Just off the top of my head, I'm going to guess that he is the... what do we think? Okay, I was going to say 8th. 13th highest rush grade. So higher than David Montgomery, higher than Chubb, higher than Jahmyr Gibbs, higher than Emmanuel Wilson. Where was Najee? Najee Harris had the same PFF rush grade as Chris Rodriguez Jr. Oh, same as Kamara. All right, good for him. Okay, good for him. Okay. What about the year before? What about his rookie year? Let's check out Jaylen Warren's rookie year. I don't think he was as good his rookie year in my memory. So Najee was at a 75.2 on this team. And Jaylen Warren, maybe he didn't qualify. Maybe I need to change the minimum rushing attempts. Let's go 20%, and let's see if we can find Jaylen Warren. So Jaylen Warren was not much better as a rookie. He was actually slightly worse, 75.2 and 73. What's interesting? So I guess the Warren improvement from year 1 to year 2 is kind of what you'd expect. Whereas Najee has kind of consistently declined, if my memory serves me correctly. Actually, no, he's shown improvement as well, but has gotten worse raw stats. His raw stats were best as a rookie. Then he got fewer raw stats year over year. Kind of where I've landed with this situation, I'm trying to think of like a really good comp. I wonder, honestly, if what the comp for Jaylen Warren is kind of Nyheim Hines, where Hines has looked good in stretches, but never the teams just never decided to turn the ball over to him. Anytime there would be a running back injury and they wouldn't turn it all the way over to him. I wonder if we might be a little bit in that there. Yeah. So I don't know if this is exactly right. So it seems like we want Warren in pass game scripts. I think that was maybe true. I think that maybe used to be true, but Justin Fields just really doesn't throw it to his running backs. That tends to be a big issue, is that Justin Fields is not a check down artist. Russell Wilson, far more likely to be a check down artist. Let's not count. Well, we can let's start Justin Fields 2022 season. I'm going to guess again that we did not see a high rate of running back targets here. So Montgomery saw 40 targets, but if you compare that to everyone else on the team, there were 359 targets. David Montgomery only got 40 of them. That was good for 4th on the team. So pretty low volume. It's just pretty low. Number 33 a fella by the name of Aaron Shamplin, who went to the University of Harvard. Let's check out the 2023 Chicago Bears. It's not going to be much better, if my memory serves. So 40 again for Roschon, 31 for Herbert. So Herbert was kind of more in the pure receiving role. He had 1.7 receptions per game. Roschon had 2.3. So maybe if you put that together, maybe if you could put that together in one guy, you'd be a little bit live. But honestly, it doesn't really feel that way. I think the state of the nation with Jaylen Warren Beggs is I don't feel that good about him, because it's been a real stop and start year. And despite Jaylen Warren looking good, which he does look good when he plays, like when he gets the ball, he does look good. I think the real issue is he's on the wrong team. He's not with the team that wants to get him the ball in ways that it matters. So let's check their advance rates. We've got Najee Harris advance rates. We've got Najee Harris advance rates at 14.7, which I thought it would be better than that. Don't you think it would be better than that? That is a bit surprising to me. Let's go Jaylen Warren advance rate. 8%. So that is not great. That is really not great to see the advance rate being that low. Only room for it to go up. I think another situation is we got to talk about the Houston Texans with Nico Collins not in, because that offense should have been, I mean, talking about the concept of the 2024 season, didn't it sort of feel like the Houston Texans were going to be basically like the most important offense to get right? And that really wasn't the way that it's worked out. So with Nico Collins out, this were the snaps and the routes for the Houston Texans. It's not that bad, I suppose, for Tank Dell. So 7 targets for Stephon Diggs, 9 targets for Tank Dell. They had 35 dropbacks as a team. They had 29 passes, a couple scrambles there for CJ Stroud, and a couple sacks. The 9 targets with him out, and that was in a big win as well. So that was I think that's pretty nice. It coming in a big win. We should pull up the fantasy points data. I'd be interested to see if Tank Dell's advanced stuff got better, because a big issue has been Tank Dell just looks like a worse player. I mean, not only are the fantasy numbers worse, but if you just watch the games with your eyes, you just see the Tank Dell doesn't look quite the same, which I think big indication that I'm learning this year. If a guy breaks his leg in the prior year, that's probably a signal that they're not going to be that good. So let's take a look at the advanced receiving for the Texans over on the fantasy points, which, by the way, pretty useful tool. I've enjoyed looking at the data on this tool. I think that they are different enough from PFF and from the other places that you can learn some good information. We have the air yard share for Tank actually kind of went down, which is sort of interesting. I need to change the filter for. There's got to be a way. Weeks. Here we go. Weeks. We just want week 6. So let's check the week 6 data. And I gotta apply the filter. Probably helps to apply it. Yeah, I agree. The eye filter or the eye test looked better too. Yeah. Oh man, the 45-yard preseason touchdown did seem insanely bullish. Yeah, it really did. That was the point where I started taking him over Stephon Diggs. All right. So Diggs had more air yards, 102 air yards. Only 41 air yards for Dalton Schultz. Much higher route rate. Wow, Tank Dell with a 91.4% route rate. So that's pretty bullish. Basically, Diggs was not even a super full-time player. Xavier Hutchinson and Mechie split some of those routes up. Better targets per route run. What do we have for first read targets? Well, first read target share, very good. First read target share, all of his targets were first read target shares, and he got the end zone touchdown, and he got the touchdown. So I think my my professional fantasy football advice would be that Tank Dell is, I think, he's a pretty good buy, because doesn't it feel sort of similar to what we saw from Tony Pollard last year, where Pollard started out the year so inefficient and then kind of gradually got there. Let's go back and look at Pollard. Let's see if memory serves. So Pollard, I suppose, really it's this game here against Carolina where he started to really turn it on. He started to get more involved in the passing game, started to score some more touchdowns. Weirdly, his only 100-yard game came in that loss to Arizona. I don't even remember how that came about. Mark Andrews did just have his best game as well. Mark Andrews coming back from the broken leg, from the hip drop tackle. So, yeah, I think the Tank Dell situation is one, unlike Jaylen Warren, where you have to be feeling pretty good. What is the Tank Dell advance rate? Wow, 9.3%. But he is on the second place team. Tank Dell is on the second place team. Wow. BHO Kevin shipped the 50K power sweep yesterday. Mark Andrews flop leg. Very proud of you, brother. Makes me happy to see you here on the channel. I wonder how often Tank Dell and CJ Stroud are on 14,000 teams together. How often are CJ Stroud and Diggs together in Best Ball Mania? 16,000. And then what about Nico Collins? 19,000. So Nico the most. That's interesting. Oh, the Marv Puka stack advance rate. There we go. Marvin Harrison, Puka Nacua. 5.4%. Man, that is a very common. That is a very, very common pairing. It's kind of interesting. I wonder what the best combinatorial pairing is. I wonder if it's still Saquon Barkley. Barkley down to a 28% advance rate. How many Stroud mega stacks are there? Stroud, Nico, Diggs, Dell. 342. What about when you add Schultz? There are 116 of those. What is the no? Is that true? Marvin Harrison, Puka Nacua is on the 5th highest scoring team, the Coda Special. He's got Jaden Daniels, Matthew Stafford, Baker Mayfield, Derrick Henry, Joe Mixon, Alvin Kamara, DeAndre Swift, Dobbins. So all smash running backs. He has Flowers. He has Godwin. He's got Downs. He even has 2 more zeros than Dotson and Corley, but then he's got Bowers and Kmet. The zeros definitely do not matter. Let me say this. The zeros do not matter near as much as having the smashes. Man, the smashes are very, very important. Cooper Kupp is definitely going to have something to say about advance rate. That's another. So this is another good one. Let's head back over here. I want to look at. So I haven't looked at any of this advanced rushing stuff. The advanced. I wonder if it's going to tell us anything interesting about the season, because a lot of what we can learn about rushing, I think we can probably learn in fantasy points. But I wonder if there's kind of anything hidden in here. Leader in explosive run rate. I need to put a minimum. Let's put a minimum. What should we do for a minimum? Probably I don't know. I don't know what the best thing to do. I don't know. There's got to be an easier way to do this, but I'm having trouble. The leaders in explosive run rate of real players. Tyler Goodson at 15% is sort of interesting. Sean Tucker at 12% explosive rate. Juju for sure. Could drop I wouldn't drop Keon Coleman for Juju, but maybe you're asking the wrong person. Bucky Irving at 10% in explosive run rate. Ken Walker at 9.8% explosive run rate. That makes sense to me. Who leads the NFL in explosion yards? Of course, it's Derrick Henry. But Mason right there as well. I wonder if Jordan Mason is getting a little bit... I mean, Jordan Mason we're definitely hating on him a little bit just because he's not been able to cash in on the touchdowns. Like, I wonder if the sentiment is aware. I mean, he's a couple touchdowns away from basically being Derrick Henry. You know, Henry has 95 more yards. But if we started getting him CMC level touchdowns, if we started letting Jordan Mason get the red zone work that Derrick Henry is getting, I think it'd be pretty interesting. No, Bucky Irving is not going to be a 2-3 turn pick next year. Doesn't seem that you know, does not seem that they were that excited about him. Like, Sean Tucker played 25% of the snaps, but they were letting him get passing downs, which is theoretically what Bucky Irving should be really good at, because he's kind of a sleeker, shiftier style running back. Jonathan Taylor with a lot of explosive runs. Chuba Hubbard, I would not have guessed that he would have been. Well, I guess he did have that one 45-yard touchdown run. Yeah, I mean, I feel that way too. Since we're building our teams for end of season success, shouldn't we expect to have lower advance rates right now? That's how I sleep at night anyway. Yes. Let's look at some of the other good data here. Who leads the NFL in percentage of teams inside the 5 carries? Breece Hall has 100. Ramondre has 100. Tony Pollard. Oh, man. So I really wanted to make sure to talk about Tony Pollard today. Tony Pollard he's got an outside chance if the Titans can figure out anything. If the Titans can figure out anything, Tony Pollard could be like the number one guy that you kind of want in fantasy in terms of where he was drafted. Like, looking at the guys who he was drafted around, Tajay Spears injured his hamstring yesterday. He's week to week. We've already seen hamstring injuries basically end guys like months. Like, Nico Collins injures his hamstring and goes on the IR. We've had guys pop up with a hamstring injury on Thursday and then not play. Yeah, Spears is currently listed as week to week with a hamstring injury. The only other running backs on the roster are Julius Chestnut, and there's another guy on the practice squad whose name I forget. But Pollard is basically the only guy on the Tennessee Titans. This is actually be a good question. Let's go to the Tennessee Titans offense, and let's see how many guys have a positive grade in 2024. Is there a way? There's got to be a way to do this. Tennessee Titans offense. Exactly what I expected. Look at this. These are the players with positive grades. Tony Pollard, Mason Rudolph on whatever snaps he played, DeAndre Hopkins, and that's it. Everyone else, total losers. I guess Tajay's grade is not bad, but it's much worse. Oh, Dylan Johnson. Hey, Dylan Johnson is a really good player. Look at the Will Levis grade. The Will Levis grade, 44.9 grade for Will Levis. Really, really bad. So all of this is a long way to say, I think even if Spears comes back, it does just feel like the backfield has been drifting that way anyways. Pollard has gotten all of the really important work. If we look at the utilization report over on Fantasy Life, this will be good. I wonder how high Tony Pollard is in utilization rate at running back. The utilization score has Tony Pollard as the 8th highest running back in the NFL. So he's got a better utilization score than Joe Mixon, Chuba Hubbard, Bijan Robinson, DeAndre Swift, Aaron Jones, Jordan Mason, Ramondre Stevenson. And that's with Spears being active, right? So that is with Spears being on the team, you know? It's a great point, Pepper Tony. Maybe it was the Cowboys who were asked and not Tony Pollard. Well, yeah, we are feeling fairly confident that at least the 2024 Cowboys are very ass. So if you could trade for Pollard right now in your redraft leagues, I would do that. I think, is he gonna have a legendary upside season? No, the offense isn't good enough for that. You could definitely talk me into him getting to this range though. Could he get to 18 points per game from where he's at right now? Yeah, if this is a multi-week injury for Spears, 100% that stuff could happen. Who else? Let's look at someone had a question about how often was Derrick Henry drafted. But Derrick Henry's advance rate. Derrick Henry, 45% advance rate. I mean, shout out to him. Good. The man is doing the Lord's work. I wonder if he's ever had a run as good as this. That'll be a good. Oh, Zay Flowers. Well, no touchdowns though, man. No touchdowns for him. Yeah. Crazy advance rate. 25,000 teams who are Henry drafters advancing. It'd be funny to look at some of the lower scoring teams that have Henry. Like, let's just randomly look at Daniels, Cousins, Bijan, Henry. Oh, Chase Brown, man of culture, man of style. He has a Rashee Rice team. Everyone in his roster is committing points. Zach Ertz, man. Oh, that's a good bit. What is the Zach Ertz advance rate? How about that? 22% advance rate for one Mr. Zach Ertz. The tight end position, man. Yes, I am expecting ADPs to shift quite a bit in a battle royale. Do you guys want to do a battle royale? Or are we going to keep looking at let's keep looking at some of this data. Let's look at Zay Flowers. Zay Flowers only a 20% advance rate. Oh, that's a good question. It's a good question. Zach Ertz has he's only on 8,000 teams. Huh. So he's only on 8,000 teams. That's pretty interesting, right? Isn't it? 8,392 teams. Let's look at with Jaden Daniels. So only a quarter of those. It does look a little bit better. Sure, we can look at some big board teams. You know, the big board. Here's the issue with me in the big board. I was all in on Dylan Laube and Jalen McMillan, and those guys made the team, but they are not scoring any fantasy points. So if they're not scoring any fantasy points, they're not really helping me. You know, I guess they're not zeros, but here you guys can see $12,908 at stake. Not getting very much back, but we hope and we pray. Let's take a look at pre-draft best ball weeks 1 through 14. See if we got any good ones here. Let's look at a first place team. Here is the first one. All right, Jordan Love and Kirk Cousins. So they're both alive. You can't feel mad about that. Kyron, Ramondre, Chase Brown, Braylon Allen, Roschon Johnson, Dylan Laube, and Clyde. So Clyde's the only one who's dead there. Justin Jefferson, Jalen Waddle, Reed, Franklin. Wow, Franklin scored some points. Wicks, of course. Wandale, Jalen McMillan, Greg Dortch, Aeneas Smith. That's really funny. That is such an example of of what you run into in the big board. You're gonna have a lot of guys who are stone zeros. Let's look at some of the ones that are terrible. Let's not look at some of the advancing ones. Let's look at some of the really bad ones. Let's look at some random 10th place team. Let's look at an 11th place team here. So first place is 760 points. This team is more than 200 points behind. Anthony Richardson and Drake May, classic. Kyron Williams, Ramondre, the same pairing on the other team. Jaylen Warren, boys, Jaylen Warren not helping in the big board. Really, really not helping. Chase Brown, Rico Dowdle, Dylan Laube. Of course, it's a Puka team. Puka, Pittman, Keenan, Worthy, Wicks, J-Mac, Malik Washington, Greg Dortch, Luke McCaffrey, and another Aeneas Smith team. So I guess that does just show you it's pretty thin. That team that we just clicked on, not that much different than my team that's in first place, right? If you really think about it, it's not really that different. Had multiple overlapping players, had the same roster construction. You know, sometimes it is just kind of the luck of the draw. Let's keep looking. These are kind of fun. Let's look at another. Here's a fourth place team. This one could turn. This one is only this one's not that far away. Wow, this guy in first has a fucking super team. 805. Allen, it's a Baker team. Baker, Kamara. Yeah, this dude's just killing it. Dobbins. Oh, the Dobbins teams in the big board. I mean, they just have to be printing because he was stone free in the big board. Jefferson, Evans, Keenan. Anyway, let's look at my team because that's what I'm really here for. Lamar. Oh, of course it's a JJ McCarthy team. Of course it's a JJ McCarthy team. Why wouldn't it be? Yeah, I did not. I don't think I took Dobbins at all in the big board. I was pretty convinced until training camp started that the J.K. Dobbins thing was not happening. Aaron Jones, another Jaylen Warren team. Chase Brown, Braylon Allen, Antonio Gibson, Ray Davis, and Laube. CeeDee has been a real silent killer. Oh, here, this is a good one. Let's do the Tampa Bay Buccaneers wide receiver rotation. So this one is going to be it's not going to make us very happy, but I think the Jalen McMillan thing is Joever. I think they've moved on from Jalen McMillan because not only was he not the fourth wide receiver, not only was he not the third wide receiver, he wasn't even the fourth wide receiver. He ran fewer routes. Ryan Miller, who honestly I had to look up. That's not Scotty Miller. That's Ryan Miller. He played college football. Get this. He played college football for the Furman Paladins, signed by the Buccaneers as an undrafted free agent. I think he's been on the team for a while. He, I guess, was like a pretty athletic guy, but he was, guys, get this. He was an FCS tight end. He wasn't even a wide receiver technically in college. He was a tight end. So he's a practice squad tight end. But how often do guys convert from wide receiver to tight end? You see it go the other way. But how often do you see a guy convert from tight end to wide receiver? That never happens. And if it does happen, it doesn't work. Can you think of a guy? I guess I remember an old Rams guy Zach Harris doing that, or Jacob Harris. Jacob Harris. He was a college tight end who converted to wide receiver. I don't believe the Evans injury was that bad, but basically, Jalen McMillan just ran fewer routes than a converted FCS tight end. So you can drop Jalen McMillan in any format, and maybe you add him back. Maybe you add him back later, but he was targeted once. The offense is absolutely rolling. You're not going to see an offense rolling like this. Like Baker is one of the best. Like he's playing basically like the best quarterbacking in the NFL right now. I think we are just going to see him continue. And I suppose we should talk about Sean Tucker as well. So Sean Tucker was a guy that we all drafted in best ball last year. He was a sleeper. Sean Tucker was a legitimate sleeper last year, and they never made him active. I mean, they just refused to play Sean Tucker last year when they desperately needed anything at running back. That was the thing that was so strange, was Rachaad White was one of the worst runners in the NFL last season. Sean Tucker, we thought, Sean Tucker, better runner than Rachaad White, better prospect than Rachaad White. Sean Tucker, in college, freshman at Syracuse, 4.62 yards per carry, does dominate the backfield for a pretty bad Syracuse team, then really turns it on the next 2 years. 1,500 rushing yards, 1,000 rushing yards, averages over 5.5 yards per carry for his collegiate career, works in the receiving game, catches 36 passes his final year, dominates. I mean, his 3 years at Syracuse, he's almost 45% of the entire offense. He's a huge part of it. I mean, look at some of these games. I mean, he's running for 257 yards against Clemson, has these huge games against 224, 113, and 1 against Notre Dame. Like he's a big part of the offense. Let's pretend. So the reason he doesn't get drafted is he has a health issue. Now I don't remember what it was. I want to say it was maybe like a heart issue, but he had like a legitimate health issue that caused him to not be drafted. He probably would have been drafted. I'm not able to access that information in my head right now, but let's just pretend. So right now his comps don't look very good, right? It's like Eno Benjamin, Cody Schrader, but let's just pretend. Let's pretend he got drafted in the 3rd round. Let's pretend this injury, these medical concerns never happened. I'm going to guess, yeah, it's exactly what I thought. His comps look way better. LaShawn McCoy, Steve Slayton, Tank Bigsby, Breece Hall, Dion Lewis, Marlon Mack, Cam Akers, Daniel Thomas, who I remember being awesome. My projection going forward would be, I don't know how much of an offense Rachaad White is going to have to get back to, because let's look at the Buccaneers advanced rush data. I'm going to guess Rachaad White is worse in all these categories. So he is worst in yards per carry, obviously. He's worse in explosion runs. How about this? Sean Tucker almost has more rushing yards on explosion runs than Rachaad White, and he's played about 32 snaps. It's like unbelievable how little he's been involved. Rachaad White has the worst stuff rate on the team. He's been percentage of carries that are stuffed. So he's had the greatest amount of his that are stuffed. Bucky Irving has more missed tackles forced, better missed tackles forced per attempt, more yards after contact for Bucky Irving, a greater the yards before contact per attempt. I mean, how bad is that for Rachaad White? 0.76 yards per contact. We used to call those vision yards at RotoViz. So basically, it's your the average amount of yards before a defender hits you. I mean, that is just brutal stuff for Rachaad White. He looks like one of the worst rushers in the NFL. Let's look at the 2023 stuff, because I'm gonna guess he looks just as bad in 2023. All right, for the entirety of the season, Rachaad White on 272 attempts generates 137 yards of explosion runs. Bucky Irving already has more than that this year. Bucky Irving already has more than 137 explosion yards this year. He has a 51% stuff rate. So 51% of his rushes end in a stuff. I mean, dude, this is really, really brutal. Oh, God. I didn't even really remember Rachaad White being this bad. This is pretty nasty stuff. Yards after contact. He was a little bit better at this last year. 2.24 yards after contact per attempt. Yeah, Bucky honestly does look quite good running the ball. I'm not imagining. But anyways, you guys are seeing Sean Tucker was on the team last year. Sean Tucker was on the team and playing behind Keyshawn Vaughn and Chase Edmonds. Like, they had the opportunity to use him last year. They gave 49 rushes to Chase Edmonds. They gave 24 rushes to Keyshawn Vaughn. What is the deal? The answer to, is Tucker a good pass blocker? I honestly have no idea. I would guess he's probably not considered to be a particularly good pass blocker because the team was playing Chase Edmonds and Keyshawn Vaughn over him last season. And so if they were doing that, all of this raises the larger question: what is Sean Tucker's role on this team going to be moving forward? You know, I think waiver dollars spent on Sean Tucker might not be the most wise, really. Because if you think about it, what are you hoping for? Because he didn't play more than Bucky did. Bucky ran more routes, way more routes actually, and they got the same amount of carries, but a bunch of Sean Tucker's carries came on the final two drives when the game was already decided. So let's say we spend, 25% of our remaining budget on Sean Tucker. Are you going to start him next week? You're probably not going to start him next week. And if you're not going to start him next week, then he just I guess he just becomes a handcuff, but he becomes like the third string handcuff. It is kind of like getting Wicks off waivers, but at least the week that we wanted to buy Wicks off waivers, we were going to start him. And if we were going to start him, then it's okay. Yeah, Todd Bowles said it was worthy of being a three-headed monster, which really, I guess you should bid on Sean Tucker. It would be insane to leave a guy who just had that performance off the waivers. Yeah, he's kind of similar to Guerrero. I see that. That's a good comp. The thing that I just feel so bitter about is that I drafted I drafted a good bit of Sean Tucker last year. Is there a way on BBM DB to check BBM 4? I guess probably not. Wow. Got your bum energy. They're really good, man. They're really, really good. All right, who else is interesting from this game? Well, we could talk a little bit. We could talk a little bit about our boy Spencer Rattler. Did Spencer Rattler play well enough to keep Derek Carr on the IR for a while? I don't think he was a bad pick. I mean, is he any worse than taking? This is like, how many times was Ronnie Rivers taken? Ronnie Rivers was taken 38 times. Ronnie Rivers is a player with 0% ability to score fantasy points. Sean Tucker was picked 82 times. Imagine having a Sean Tucker team not advancing. Imagine being this 12th place team with Sean Tucker. CJ Stroud, Trevor Lawrence, Breece Hall, Najee, Zamir White. Man, what's the Zamir White advance rate? %9. 9%. Ooh, Bub Means. Okay, let's do Bub Means. Bub Means went to Means. What's his real name? Gerard Means. Okay, so he played at Pittsburgh. Gerard. Bub's a pretty cool name. So he played at Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh is this really interesting school where they play this like crazy hurry up style. Eli Holstein is their quarterback this year. Obviously, Pickett was the quarterback before. Means doesn't look that interesting here. Like, he barely played. He averaged a ton of yards per reception. Did have a 36% dominator rating. He's an overage prospect, though. I wonder if Bub Means went to a junior college. Yeah, he did. Bub Means went to Tennessee, then he redshirted, then he transferred to Louisiana Tech, but he was forced to sit out the season. Then he played at Louisiana Tech, 22 receptions, 430 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Then he transferred to Pitt and played pretty well. Played pretty well for Pittsburgh, I think as you would expect. Yeah, there you go. I think Means looks like a real... I think there's a little something there. A 4.340 at 212 pounds. Let's check the Sims. I mean, that is Alec Pierce, Cody Latimer, T. Higgins, Terrace Marshall, A.J. Brown, Lynn Bowden, Miles Boykin, Nico Collins, Jonathan Mingo. Yeah, but Olave is going to miss on Thursday as well. Olave is gonna miss the game on Thursday as well. And the other thing is that look at all these empty calories in the Saints offense. 28 routes for Cedric Wilson, 0. Not a guy who deserves to be on the field, really. Mason Tipton is another undrafted free agent rookie, 0, but not a target earner. Foster Moreau, 0, not a target earner. All these guys are not target earners, so there's a lot of meat on the bone there. What I'm saying. So this is without the draft pick. Let's just give him. Let's put the draft pick in at. Let's pretend he's a day 3 pick. Let's put pick 180, and that's going to take. Obviously, it's going to take away some of those. It's going to take away some of those very high end names, which is okay. Which is okay. You know, no reason to pretend he's anyone he's not. And there's still hits here. So still Gabe Davis, obviously a huge hit. Well, you could say whatever you want. That is a huge hit, in my opinion, based on the things that could have happened in his career. And let's make it only guys who weigh let's put 210, because something weird is happening with the filter here, I think. Bub Means was the wide receiver 1 for the New Orleans Saints last week. 8 targets, 8 out of 35 targets. All right, Kenny Stills, Darius Slayton, you know, there are still guys popping up in here. Nico still, because Nico went lower, because Nico had a weird college career. Gabe Davis still there. Chris Godwin shows up. Denarius Moore shows up. Kids don't remember Denarius Moore. Marvin Jones is a pretty good comp, actually, to what he could be. Olave caught a pass and then immediately got concussed. Let's see if there's any interesting stuff in the advanced data for the Saints. I wonder if there will be. Maybe not, but you never know. You never know. Maybe he would have gotten like an insane amount of separation or something. Receiving separation by coverage. Rattler looks pretty good to me. Rattler, we can look at the Broncos wide receivers next. Rattler, the results weren't great. I think he threw for 176 yards and a touchdown. But he looked pretty interesting to me. Who do I like for a captain tonight? Brees. Brees is he's gonna be the guy. All right. Yards per route run. Bub Means is not qualified. They don't have the data in from I don't think they have the data in from last night or from Sunday yet for this game. Yeah, they don't. They don't have the data yet. But I think I'm pretty interested in Bub Means. Cuz that's the kind of profile that I like to buy low on. Like, what is Bub Means going to go for on waivers this week? He's going to be pretty cheap, I think. All right, Broncos. Someone wanted to ask about weeks 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. All right, let's apply this filter. Bub Means, baby. Gotta add Bub Means this week. I mean, it would be really nice. Would be really nice if Bo Nix would get a little bit better. Nix just looks really slow on the processing, basically. All right. Well, it's definitely not great that their leader in yards per route run is Javonte Williams. Troy Franklin, leader in separation score. That's his average separation on routes run. I think that's right about what you would expect. Not great for Vele, really bad for Sutton, really bad for Lil Jordan. You know, the rest of these guys. Really bad for Josh Reynolds, who is on IR. What about targets per route run? Franklin, targets per route run, that's very strong. That's a very strong win rate, 18% win rate. Yeah, Devon Vele looks like a 0, like a stone 0. Whereas you could definitely tell me that Troy Franklin is ascending. So Franklin got up to 28 routes at a 41. Lil Jordan's routes went low. How about Marvin Mims coming back a little bit? 3 targets for Mims. I got to be honest, dude, if A.T. Perry got cut by the Saints and got claimed by the Denver Broncos because Sean Payton really can't help himself. Yeah, I think all this stuff looks pretty bullish for Franklin in the sense that, follow me if you guys are with this. Bo Nix is really slow at processing, and he likes to scramble a lot. I think what you almost want a guy like that is you just want a guy who he can maybe just huck it up to and not have to process it. Does that make sense? Like, you don't have to process so much, or you don't, or you can just kind of try and give Troy Franklin a chance to make a play on a ball 50 yards down the field. Yes. And this is like, I mean, it's an all-time shower narrative. All-time shower narrative for Troy Franklin. I think I'm kind of talking myself into Troy Franklin as we do this, because Franklin was one of those guys where, I mean, his college resume, look at that, dude. 15 yards per reception, huge breakout at age 20 for a good team, by the way. Really good team. See, I think that's unfair. I can't think you say Bo Nix wants 3-yard curls and drags from Vele. Who do you think Troy Franklin's quarterback was when he put up 14 touchdowns, 31% of the offense, 2.9 yards per target, yards per team attempt rather, which is a super correlated stat. So I'm gonna do a little bit of fudging. I'm gonna do a little bit of fudging of the numbers here for Troy Franklin. Let's pretend Troy Franklin was as good as people who are drafting him in the big board wanted him to be. Let's pretend he goes to the Buffalo Bills with the Keon Coleman pick instead of Keon Coleman. Let's pretend, right? Let's pretend. So there are your comps with the high draft position. Jalen Hyatt, Calvin Ridley. Funnily enough, KJ Hamler shows up here. Dynamic Brown, Brandon Cooks. You know what? It's really dragging him down is the weight. The 176 weight is so low. It's killing him. Like a lot of super busts are in here. Devin Smith, Dante Pettis. The weight is really bringing him down. Tim Patrick was cut because he just not a very good player. Yes. Yeah. I mean, look, winning Franklin and Means this week for one, like, do I think that Troy Franklin can score more fantasy points for the rest of the season than Christian Kirk? Probably not. But man, I don't know. Like Christian Kirk, dude, talk about, oh my God, dude, the advanced data for the Jacksonville Jaguars wide receivers has got to be so bad. Let's check out the advanced data for the Jaguars. It's got to be some of the, like, outside of Brian Thomas Jr., it's got to be so bad. I'm just Josiah DeGuara showing up. Wow. All right. I stand corrected. Look at that separation score for Christian Kirk. Better separation score than Brian Thomas. Obviously, Gabe Davis, awful. Yards per route run, Brian Thomas is a GOAT. Christian Kirk is really bad. Targets per route run. I will do this off stream, but I absolutely have to figure out how to do I got to do the minimum filter on this tool. Let's look at the quote unquote regular advanced receiving for the Jaguars, because that's kind of interesting. Is it Trevor Lawrence's fault? Like, whose fault is it that the Jacksonville Jaguars are so terrible? Is it Trevor Lawrence's fault? Is it ETN's fault? Is it the defense's fault? Is it Doug Peterson's fault? It's hard to say. Air yards share, more air yards for Christian Kirk than you would think. That's way more air yards for Christian Kirk than I would think. Yeah, Christian Kirk has been good in his career. He definitely has been good in his career. Targets per route run, Evan Ingram still the top. Which I guess you would. You know what? That is legitimately fair. Like, Evan Ingram is a good route runner. Yards per route run, Brian Thomas clearly the best. Yards per target, Brian Thomas clearly the best. I wonder about first read target share. Ingram, Thomas, Kirk, same exact percentage. Gabe Davis way down below. Brian Thomas going to be way more missed tackles forced, which I think you would expect. Yeah, look, if you got Kirk on the Chiefs, he would crush in that role. Well, this is a great way to examine it. Let's look at the 2023 Jaguars advanced stats. I bet Kirk is going to look better in this stuff than you think. Because the team was not good, but he was pretty solid for them last year. Target share, 19.5%. Targets per route run, better than Ridley. Catch rate, better than Ridley. Yards per route run, really good. 2.27 is really good yards per route run. We might not like it, but it is pretty good. What about first read target share? So Calvin Ridley, higher for, it's kind of makes it more impressive that Kirk is so low in first read targets. Only 73 first read targets. A lot of missed tackles forced for Evan Ingram. Would not have expected that. But to me, That says that Christian Kirk was not an important part of the offense in terms of the way they designed it, but he just ended up getting open a lot. Yeah, I mean, look at this designed. Look at this percentage of his targets from design plays. 21 for Ingram, 9 for Kirk. So that tells me that kind of tells me that he does get open. Yes, yeah, we can look at This is it's one of my favorite apps over on RotoViz is the Game Splits app. We can look at Kirk with and without Ingram. Christian Kirk as a member of the Jaguars with and without Evan Ingram. So that's just the last 2 years, right? Evan Ingram's been a Jag for 2 years. Well, no, it's not. It's actually pretty similar. Actually, it's almost identical. 12.17 versus 12.18. Touchdown pace is the same. Receptions are a little bit lower. Targets are different. The yards are about the same. Oh, 2022. All right, I'll expand the filter. Still not really that different. I mean, it's about a point. So it's about a point. So there's something there. 13.4 with Ingram in, 12.18 with Ingram out. So not crazy, really. It all seems pretty straightforward. What is Christian Kirk's advance rate? That is a lot higher than you would think. That advance rate for Christian Kirk is way higher than you would think. You are lying to me if you thought his advance rate would be almost close to even. How is it so high? He's been so I guess because he's not a zero. There's so many guys in there who were zeros. Isaiah Pacheco advance rate 11%. Yeah. Hollywood Brown, he's gonna be like 9%, 8%. Yeah. Lot of yeah, Brian Thomas. You have to really be a total zero. Yeah, that's a good point. What is Mahomes' advance rate? Mahomes' advance rate is gonna be so bad. Yeah, just having Mahomes on your team, 8.6% advance rate. Jalen Tolbert will probably be a good one. Jalen Tolbert will probably be above 16%. Yep, 22% for Jalen Tolbert. I wonder, this is a good one. I just like to look at these combos. Derrick Henry with Calvin Ridley. Will that be more or less teams than you would expect? I get such a high advance rate. What about this one? Feels like it'd be a lot to me. Yeah, Derrick Henry and Brandon Cooks. I just feel like check the Kirk Lawrence advance rate. Kirk Lawrence. So funny. No. Mahomes just doesn't really score fantasy points. Wow, that is a lot of combinations. That is a really high combinatorial pairing. 22,000 with those guys on it. That is, I mean, I guess it makes sense, but man, you do not feel good if that strategy was a big part of your of course. I mean, look, we probably all do. Sure. Yeah, what is the Drake May advance rate after yesterday? So Drake May was not even 100% drafted. He's up to 11.7%. You could get really late stacks with them. Yeah, that's true. What is Gabe Davis? So let's just randomly compare. Gabe Davis and Geno Smith. That's like a random pairing. I guess not that random. Gabe Davis and Justin Herbert. Is that a random pairing? Not really. Gabe Davis. Who's the Week 17 opponent for the Jaguars? How did Drake May feel like fancy syndrome? Drake May scored more fantasy points than he scored 23 fantasy points in his first game. Drake May was like one of the easiest points. I don't know. He's really okay. There you go. Gabe Davis and Levis. It's on 6,000 teams. Gabe Davis and Lawrence. 12,000 teams. Yeah. Vidal. There we go. What is the Vidal advance rate? So okay. All right, we're heading in the right direction. Kirk Cousins and Mooney. Kirk Cousins and Darnell Mooney. Super advanced. Wow, look at that. Look at that. I bet the Kirk Cousins advance rate is pretty high. Yep. All right, here in a second, I'm gonna do a Andrews and Mixon. That's a good one. Andrews, Mixon. All right, I'm gonna do one BR, and then I'm gonna get out of here. Shorter video today, and I will be back tomorrow. TBD if there will be a guest, but I will be back with you guys tomorrow doing it'll be the early week skeleton key. So it'll be basically how do we win Battle Royale this week. Oh, the freaking permissions, man. Absolutely. My best team is not good. We can look at it though. I do not have very good teams in Best Ball Mania. I'm advancing 9 teams. My best score is 796, and it's not even a good team. It is Joe Burrow with T. Higgins. It's Rashee Rice, so it's dead. It's Derek Carr with Shaheed, so pretty dead. Goddard and Schultz. Yes, it's not even a good team. A-Chain, Walker, Kamara. It's just because it has Kamara on it. It's the only reason it's a good team. It's not even a good team. If I can get Underdog to let me in, we will definitely do a draft. But yeah, seriously. Oh yeah, of course we do. How could I forget? We do need to do our weekly check-in. I think Soccer Dave is advancing more teams than me now, bro. I think that is where we're at. I'm advancing 9 teams. Soccer David. Okay, he's advancing. Well, his best team is not even advancing. How about that? His best team has Lamar and Likely, and it's got Kirk Cousins with London and no one else. Look at these zeros, dude. Unbelievable, this guy. He's got Gabe Davis, Adam Thielen, Luke McCaffrey, Tyler Boyd, and Xavier Gibson all on one team. That is truly spectacular stuff. Xavier Gibson. How many is Liam advancing now? Liam has a 14% advance right now. Mr. Tuttle 05. Mr. Tuttle's team that he drafted on the Swolecast, I'm sad to say, is not advancing. Do you guys remember this? All-time effort from Mr. Tuttle 05. Anthony Richardson, Dak Prescott, Bijan Robinson, Jonathan Taylor, Isaiah Pacheco. Just, running bad there. Running bad with the running back group. Who could have known? Michael Pittman, Lad McConkey, A.D. Mitchell, Jermaine Burton. He used Jermaine Burton's points. I mean, that is some special stuff. Michael Wilson, Roman Wilson, Javon Baker. What's the Javon Baker advance rate? Thankfully, he was not 100% drafted. Wow. Would not have guessed that high. Truly would not have guessed that high. By the way, I'm like not able to get Underdog to load right now. So I don't know if that is a computer issue for me or what it is, but maybe there's not going to be a BR to end the show. It's true. Yeah, it might be, and it might end up being Javon Baker, because Javon Baker is an absolute zero with 11% advance rate. I mean, it's probably, I mean, Rashee Rice would be a good one. Rashee Rice still has not that high of an advance rate. What about Worthy? Worthy with an 11% advance rate? Yeah. Beimfour has the nuts, dude. Yeah, he's advancing like every team. Yeah. All right. So it's a site issue. It's a site issue right now. So the site is not working. Which, that happens sometimes. All right, boys, I am going to get out of here. If you enjoyed the video, please subscribe to the channel. Please like the video. If you came over from ADP chasing, thank you. It's very kind of you. And I will be back tomorrow. We'll be doing the Battle Royale strategy guide for the week. I love you all. I appreciate you all. I hope you have a great day. I hope you enjoy Monday Night Football. See y'all later.